Imagine if you were so distraught with Star Wars Episode 7 that you kidnapped Harrison Ford and forced him to remake the movie in your basement. So is the case with Stealing Solo, a Captain's parody, the newest comic book from world-class bullshitters. Stealing Solo is a parody of Star Wars and Hollywood in general. It's only available through Indiegogo for a short period of time, and once it's gone, it's gone. There's tons of perks and awesome gifts to get at each level, so sign up today to guarantee your copy of Stealing Solo before it's too late.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
On Tuesday, the Captain Marvel trailer dropped, and like the titular character, it crash-landed in a less than graceful manner. The trailer was average, not better than the real Captain Marvel, but no worse than Aquaman's. It featured some interesting imagery, a look into the MCU's past, and more Son of Cole. But what really has captured the imagination of the internet was Brie Larson's smile, or a lack thereof. Memes started popping up, hashtags appeared, and laughs were had. But like all other things protected by the crazy SJWs, the fun was stopped abruptly. This article was brought to my attention by a listener in our Facebook group, and it caused me to rage out a bit. But now I've taken some time to compose myself, reread the article, and change my opinion. At first I thought this article was trash, but now I find it to be flaming trash, with a gas can being poured onto it. The article in question comes from the internet's unwashed asshole, CBR, titled, PSA, please stop photoshopping smiles onto Captain Marvel. We now have confirmation of what the next 6 months of Marvel reporting will be. For those of you who didn't grow up in the 80s and 90s, a PSA, or public service announcement, is a message in the public interest disseminated without charge, with the objective of raising awareness, changing public attitudes and behaviors towards a social issue. Basically, it's when Pee Wee Herman told you not to smoke crack, or Mr. T telling you to treat your mother right. Both messages I can agree with. Crack is whack and mom is very important. But what isn't important is the message being promoted here. The first Captain Marvel trailer finally landed this week, generating a flurry of excited responses. After all, it's been nearly 6 months since fans were devastated by Thanos' finger snap in Avengers Infinity War, and heartened with Nick Fury's distress call in the post-credit scene. In the immortal words of Bonnie Tyler, we've been holding out for a her. Oh. But not everyone is happy with what we've seen so far. Not enough Mohawk Carol? Do the Skrulls look too much like Dragon Ball Evolution's Piccolo? No. The question people are asking instead is, why so serious, Brie? They've taken to Twitter to bemoan every moment in which star Brie Larson doesn't have a smile plastered across her face, describing the Academy Award winner as a piece of wood, and saying she looks as if she's uninterested in being a superhero, or going to a relative's wake, and insufficiently smiling by a female superhero is apparently grounds for Photoshop corrections. Fear not, Marvel and Disney. Lengthy shot-for-shot remakes forcing Larson to Joker grin through the epic battles and grueling training exercises as if she's in a teeth-whitening commercial won't be necessary because, thanks to a face-tuning app, at least one kind soul has been able to do all the hard work for you. One Twitter user shared several doctored images claiming, I fixed #Captain Marvel. The complaint is reminiscent of when Gal Gadot's armpit stubble caused controversy for being digitally retouched in one shot of Wonder Woman. Nitpicking that proves heightened levels of scrutiny female leads have to endure in comparison to their hairier, scowlier counterparts. Since 1998's Blade took the superhero movie down a grittier path, it's difficult to find any poster or spotlighted trailer image in which the titular crime fighter isn't gurning in pain, clenching in determination, or staring heroically off into the distance. We only expect otherwise from designated jokesters like Deadpool or Spider-Man. Thor Ragnarok was criticized for being overly funny, but no one complained that Thor himself was smiling too much. Conversely, the films of the so-called DC Extended Universe have been ridiculed for not being funny enough. Yet the lack of a consistent grin on the face of Superman and Batman have never been cited as part of the problem. None of Captain Marvel's fellow MCU characters, male or female, have ever had their facial expressions altered because of an apparent lack of visible joy. Scarlett Johansson has been stoically staring down audiences as Black Widow since 2010's Iron Man 2, usually only deploying a rare upcurling of her lip for manipulative purposes. What makes Carol Danvers different? The answer is simple, really. This is the first time a woman has been in the solo lead in an MCU movie, and only one of the handful of times when a woman has led any superhero feature. As such, we see Larson's emotionless face in the majority of the trailer's footage. Thus, there's a lot more to examine. Judging by the tone of the trailer, Captain Marvel won't be a goofy side quest like Ant-Man and the Wasp, the first Marvel studio release to feature a female character's name in the title. Captain Marvel is set to be a big, intergalactic, action-packed romp. Carol is also being hyped as not only the new face of the MCU, but also its strongest character, and the last-minute savior who will help defeat Thanos in Avengers 4. Right now, we need to know if she can do the purple butt-kicking business requited, not that she's a laugh to be around. Perhaps she will crack a few jokes and take a few quick breaks from attempting to stop an alien war and recovering the grasp of her memory following a crash landing on Earth. Even if that turns out to be the case, though, it ignores the crux of the issue. People aren't complaining Captain Marvel isn't funny enough, they're complaining she isn't smiling enough. Telling women to smile is one of the most petty moves from the sexism playbook. As a lot of women, particularly those with resting bitch face, will tell you, the expectation for them to be happy, grinning idiots when they're doing little more than sitting on the bus or walking down the street is a frustratingly persistent one. There's a wealth of personal stories from women detailing instances of strange men coming across the street, going right to their faces in public to tell them to smile, honey. That expectation is for women to always be likable, or worse, decorative. It's a reminder that you're being watched constantly, no matter where you go. And if your demeanor is found to be lacking, then rest assured you'll be told to correct it before you start frightening children. Quick detour. Let's talk about double standards for just a moment. So this article cites people don't mention Superman not smiling enough. Yeah, they do. That's one of the biggest complaints about the grim, unhappy nature of Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and then the Justice League tries it. It's a little weird. Superman is supposed to be the big blue Boy Scout, not the frowny biscuit-eating bitch. People have complained about it, but it doesn't fit your narrative. And now do you see why people are calling this the end of the MCU? Let's take a look at the most disheartening part of this article. Carol Danvers, the new face of the MCU, but also the strongest character and the last-minute savior who will help defeat Thanos in Avengers 4. Marvel fans, welcome to Star Wars, where the plot means nothing and the characters achieve less. Now, let's cut the legs out from the soy boys and cat ladies real quick. It's not because she's a woman. Women are fine as leads, directors, etc. No one's calling for the antebellum South of female equality here. People are critical of this trailer because the MCU has a stellar track record, and this trailer is the first step towards the DCEU. The same criticisms have been levied against Superman just as much as Captain Marvel. Let's end this whole double standard thing right now. The lack of a smile isn't just a few on the internet, but it seems to be a common criticism. But this writer has taken up the cross and made it her crusade. Not really a smart move. Why? Because it's proving what we already knew. This film isn't going to be talked about because how great it will be. It's going to be discussed through a feminist lens, and to be quite frank about it, the lens has a big smudge on it, because all these firsts that you want to attribute to Captain Marvel were already achieved by Wonder Woman. This movie is going to be used to bring attention to the ideological beliefs that these writers, well, that's giving them too much credit. Let's call them bloggers with a press badge. And that's not what the studio is going to want. They want positivity associated with their films. They want the public to be excited. They don't want Captain Marvel to be the last Jedi of their franchise, only to have Avengers 4 be Solo. By being so aggressive, this writer already changes the public perception of this film. To the enlightened online, they'll label this as an SJW dumpster fire waiting to happen. And your average moviegoer will say, oh, it's one of those movies, not knowing the preferred nomenclature. I, for one, dread this movie because of the bigger picture implications. Earlier this year, we had to suffer the media's love story with Black Panther, a film much like Wonder Woman. Good superhero entertainment that can be enjoyed by all. But the narrative that these bloggers with a badge put on the film left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. The bloggers wanted to attribute Black Panther as the first black-led superhero film. That wasn't the case. In the early 90s, there was Blank Man and Meteor Man. If you consider those films jokes, then how does Blade strike you for serious? If Blade's not serious enough for you, check your pulse. Oh, and Blade also got a trilogy. Video games, toys, etc. The full treatment. But because it wasn't the first time since social media has existed, well then history be damned. This is also a big problem. This group of people have a terrible tendency to forget what came before it so they can virtue signal and attempt to be on the right side of history. Thanks to Wonder Woman, we now have taken away their ability to praise Captain Marvel as the first anything. They'll use the phrase first female-led MCU film, but at this point in the game, the phrase means very little. Women have always had a strong presence in the MCU. Pepper Potts went from assistant to CEO to Iron Man armor-wearing vanquisher of Aldrich Killian. The Black Widow has been whooping ass since Iron Man 2 and was a core founding member of the Avengers. And before any of these badged bloggers attempt it, these women have been featured as toys. So let's stop this whole hashtag movement before it even starts. Captain Marvel isn't the first anything in the MCU. Not the first blonde, not the first warrior, not the first to defeat the bad guy. The stigma that's beginning to form around this film is well-deserved because of the stigma around the lead actress, Brie Larson. Outside of the frown, Brie Larson isn't doing anything to ingratiate herself with the fans. I think the first red flag was her acceptance speech at the Lucy Awards, where she blamed old white men for the failures of A Wrinkle in Time. Not a smart move. What about the women who gave this film a bad review? What about Sarah Stewart, a critic of the New York Post, who said, A Wrinkle in Time failed to deliver the necessary thrills? Or Jocelyn Novchek of the Associated Press, who said that this movie was confusing and all over the map. All the excuses in the world can't make up for the fact that people still didn't go see the movie. Black people didn't go, white people didn't go, you didn't go. Probably. This is why people are worried about her lack of a smile, because the concern goes deeper. She's kind of off-putting in real life and arrogant. You know who isn't off-putting and arrogant? Gal Gadot. In all the press junkets for Wonder Woman and Justice League, she came off as fun, likable, charismatic, and feminine. This isn't about looks, it's about demeanor, and Gal Gadot seems fun. Brie Larson seems like she just woke up. A big grumpy pile of frowns. Articles like this from CBR are worrisome because it reflects the insecurities of the writer, not an actual problem of society. Now I know there are a legion of keyboard warriors, you see what I did there, down in the comments typing in a flurry about how I critiqued Black Panther and Captain Marvel, so I must be racist and sexist. Well, this sentence is just a test to see how short your attention spans are because, newsflash, I don't fit into that narrative that you're going to try to push. I can legally claim myself as black and have a great relationship with women. From my mom to grandma to friends to romance, I don't have any issues with women in any situations based on their gender. I have a problem with assholes, and just like an asshole, it can be male or female. So when I critique garbage like this, I don't have it in for poor Hannah. I treat Scott Mendelson way worse. I just have a problem with the intention of this article, to tear the comic community apart. We're all loving what the MCU does, but now it's been infected by social nonsense. You know, I was hoping that the next 6 months would be a time of anticipation for the next big hit from the MCU. But in record time, the leeches have come out in droves to glom onto this film. Impending doom is the sense a lot of people are feeling right now. It's the end of the MCU as we know it, and I don't feel fine. Oh, and for those out there who are championing the cause to make all the males in the MCU smile, congratulations, you've just shown how petty you truly are. What do you win? Nothing. So folks, now you can understand why I'm so worried about Captain Marvel. It's not because it's a female-led movie, because we had Wonder Woman from DC, we've had Elektra, we've had Catwoman, and way back in 1984, before any of us were born, well, most of us, we had Supergirl. And that wasn't a great film, but it was a female-led superhero film, so the narrative of firsts die there. Now I know this writer does go out of their way to say MCU film, but again, that's just a qualifier, an add-on. They act like just because it wasn't in the MCU, it doesn't happen. We've had great Spider-Man films before Spider-Man Homecoming. It's the same thing as saying we had a great Batman movie before The Dark Knight existed, because we did. So I feel like this article validates my concern. Do I want to be concerned? No. I would have rather just had a fun trailer that showed the spirit of this film. And maybe this is a trailer that shows the spirit of the film, and fun is subjective, but to me, I'm more worried than I'm excited. Because this is what people consider entertainment journalism these days. Sexist, racist, blah, blah, blah. It's a bigger problem, and Captain Marvel's going to be used as the poster child of that. You see, a lot of these people that write these articles don't have much of a background in terms of writing, or frankly, they don't have anything interesting to say. So they just tout the same SJW rhetoric bullshit, and at this point, it's tiresome at best. So folks, let me know your thoughts on the Captain Marvel trailer. Yeah, I noticed that she wasn't smiling. It wasn't something that I picked up on Twitter. I thought to myself, man, she just doesn't look happy. Beyond doesn't look happy. And this movie looks about as equal as Green Lantern. So take with that what you will. One interesting thing that was brought to my attention by channel dad Brian Lape was the fact that Captain Marvel has the lowest budget of all MCU films, according to some article he had. I'm not going to quote it as fact, but I will say this. If that article is the truth, watch this movie be praised as it made the most based off of its budget. So, again, it's all about firsts with these movies. Well, Captain Marvel was only budgeted $150 million, but it made $750 million. So now it's made X amount times its budget, more so than the Avengers this and that. See, they're going to do everything they can to prop this movie up at the disservice of other movies. That's what modern SJW rhetoric, or whatever you want to call it, bad taste brigade, SJWs, feminists, crazy ones, I don't care what you want to call them. The nomenclature is up to you to decide. But all I will say is this, is that these people, the ones that really don't like entertainment, the ones that are here to destroy entertainment and destroy the fan communities by infecting it with garbage, those people are the ones that want the first, that need the first. They're the ones that get off on the firsts. So we just got to make sure to let them know that Captain Marvel isn't the first at all. And one final message to this writer, Hannah. My grandma will tell me, smile, honey. Is my grandma a sexist? No. My grandma's old school. She fought in World War II. She kicked ass. So maybe it's just a thing old people say, and you just got to get over it. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, share it, and tell everyone about world-class bullshitters. If you're a super fan of this channel, join our Patreon page. $1 a month goes a long way. $5, which is only 17 cents a day, goes even further. You get access to digital stuff, being on the show, and all kinds of stuff at the higher tiers. Now we're about a month out from Stealing Solo's campaign ending, so if you guys haven't picked up your copy, make sure you do. Got all kinds of great stuff coming your way. We just blew past the first stretch goal of $30,000, so everyone that has helped Stealing Solo is going to get their early bird certificate in the mail. And the higher up we go, the more stretch goals there are. So if we can hit the $100,000 stretch goal, guess what's happening? Anthology. What's the anthology? It's a whole nother comic book, a 32-page comic book in the vein of the Twilight Zone. The reason why it's at that level is because I'm going to have it recolored, relettered, reformatted, and a brand new cover put on the book. If you like the Twilight Zone, if you like EC Comics, if you like old anthology books that have funny twist endings, crazy twist endings, political twist endings, deeper twist endings, then Anthology is the book for you. So the only way you can get that is by helping Stealing Solo reach its biggest stretch goal. And I just want to thank everyone who's already backed the book. You're going to love it. So folks, that's all for today. I'll be back later in the week with more content here on World Class Bullshitters. And remember, when you critique something and somebody calls you a sexist, the best way to defeat that is not saying, "No, I'm not." It's proving them wrong with the facts.